The digital underworld holds its breath. September 18, 2022. Early morning. A torrent of raw, unverified data erupts onto online forums, shattering the carefully constructed secrecy of one of the gaming world's most anticipated titles. 90 videos. Unfinished gameplay, source code snippets, internal developer tools, all bearing the unmistakable mark of Grand Theft Auto 6. This wasn't a rumor. This was a catastrophic, undeniable reality. Footage displayed characters moving through a vibrant, unreleased Vice City, complete with dialogue and never-before-seen mechanics. It sent shockwaves, not just through the gaming community, but through the fortified walls of Rockstar Games itself. Developers woke to their life's work, exposed. A security breach of unprecedented scale had ripped through their operations, laying bare years of meticulous design and development. The leak wasn't just a spoiler, it was a digital invasion, a direct assault on the very heart of their creative process. The question wasn't if it was real, but how such an unthinkable breach had occurred. Who had dared to peel back the curtain on such a closely guarded secret? And what dark intentions lay behind this devastating reveal? Hours after the initial deluge, a user emerged from the shadows, claiming full responsibility. Their handle, Tipo2Bahacker. Their message was defiant, laced with an unsettling blend of arrogance and ambition. They announced not only their culpability for the GTA 6 hack but also their direct involvement with the notorious Lapsus cybercrime collective. This wasn't some lone wolf. This was a coordinated, sophisticated operation boasting a track record of high-profile corporate breaches. The hacker boasted about their access to Rockstar's internal Slack channels and Confluence servers, openly taunting the company, even offering negotiations to prevent further leaks. The bravado was chilling. They weren't just stealing data, they were seeking notoriety, demanding attention. The digital fingerprints pointed towards a well-established pattern of extortion and public humiliation, a hallmark of the Lapsus group. But who exactly was behind this alias, Tipo2Bahacker? And what vulnerabilities had allowed them to penetrate the defenses of a global entertainment giant with such alarming ease? Lapsus was not your typical ransomware gang. Their methods were less about brute force, and more about deception, social engineering, and the exploitation of human weakness. Their signature move was often SIM swapping, tricking mobile providers into porting a target's phone number to a device they controlled, thereby bypassing multi-factor authentication. They would then leverage this access to infiltrate corporate networks, exfiltrate sensitive data, and often demand ransoms, threatening to publish their findings if denied. Companies like Nvidia, Samsung, Microsoft, and Uber had already fallen victim to their audacious tactics, each breach a proof to Lapsus' ability to find the weakest link in even the strongest digital chains. They sought not just financial gain, but reputation, publicly shaming their targets. This approach represented a shift in the cybercrime world, moving beyond purely technical exploits to psychological manipulation. But how did this particular collective, seemingly led by a remarkably young individual, manage to cultivate such a destructive and effective strategy? The Rockstar breach didn't involve sophisticated zero-day exploits. Instead, it was a masterful display of exploiting internal trust and access. The Lapsus group gained initial entry through a phishing attack targeting an employee. Once inside, they didn't just grab files, they burrowed deeper. They navigated through Rockstar's internal communication tools, specifically their Slack channels, where developers openly discuss game features, technical challenges, and confidential project details. From there, they found their way to Confluence, a collaborative workspace often containing design documents, code repositories, and critical intellectual property. The scale of access was staggering, not just gameplay footage, but sections of the game's source code, internal tools, and even debugging resources. This wasn't a smash and grab, it was a calculated reconnaissance mission that exploited the very systems designed to facilitate development. But how did they maintain this level of stealth and access, moving almost undetected through such sensitive digital real estate for so long? The GTA 6 leak sent tremors far beyond Rockstar's headquarters. The immediate reaction was a mix of outrage and disbelief from the gaming community, followed by a deeper concern from developers across the industry. This incident exposed a profound vulnerability. If a company like Rockstar, with its extensive resources, could be so thoroughly compromised, who was truly safe? Stock prices for Take-Two Interactive, Rockstar's parent company, saw an immediate dip. More significantly, the morale within development teams globally took a hit. The threat of years of hard work being leaked prematurely, not just spoiling a reveal but potentially jeopardizing market launch and competitive advantage, became a palpable fear. It forced a critical re-evaluation of cybersecurity protocols across the entire industry, highlighting the devastating impact of internal breaches. But beyond the financial and psychological toll, what message did this brazen act send to other potential targets, and how would this change the dynamic between creators and digital predators? With the scale of the Lapsus breaches escalating, law enforcement agencies across the globe were already mobilizing. The UK's National Cybercrime Unit, a division of the National Crime Agency, alongside the FBI and other international partners, launched a coordinated investigation. Tracking cybercriminals of this nature is a complex puzzle, piecing together digital breadcrumbs from anonymized networks, encrypted communications, and transient online identities. They meticulously analyzed the IP addresses, server logs, and communication patterns associated with the Tipo Tuberhacker, Alias and Lapsus activities. The task was arduous, requiring cross-border cooperation and the delicate balance of sharing intelligence without compromising ongoing operations. The objective was clear: unmask the individuals behind the digital veil and bring them to justice. But in a world where anonymity is easily bought, how close were they to identifying the elusive orchestrator of these high-stakes attacks? The investigation soon led to a name: Arion Kurtaj. A 17-year-old from Oxford, England, believed to be one of the core members, if not the leader, of Lapsus. Online, he operated under the alias Breachbase. Kurtaj was not new to the attention of law enforcement. He had already been associated with a string of previous high-profile hacks, demonstrating an extraordinary aptitude for exploiting digital weaknesses. He lived with his mother, and his digital footprint, despite attempts at concealment, slowly came into focus. His alleged involvement stretched back to the Nvidia and BT Group breaches, exhibiting a consistent pattern of exploiting weak MFA and social engineering to gain access. His youth was startling, but his technical ability and sheer audacity were undeniable. He seemed driven not just by money, but by the thrill of the chase, the notoriety, the challenge of breaching supposedly impenetrable systems. But what would happen when this digital prowess collided with the slow, deliberate machinery of the legal system? Arion Kurtaj was eventually apprehended. Initially, he was granted bail, but with strict conditions. He was forbidden from using the internet. A seemingly straightforward restriction for someone awaiting trial. However, demonstrating an almost defiant contempt for authority, Kurtaj managed to bypass these terms in the most audacious way imaginable. While confined to a Travelodge hotel, under police protection, he allegedly used the hotel television, a streaming device, and a new keyboard and mouse to connect to the internet. From there, he once again executed a full-scale hack, targeting Rockstar Games, and releasing the GTA 6 footage. This act wasn't just a violation of his bail, it was a brazen, public challenge to the very authorities attempting to contain him. The sheer audacity was almost unbelievable, forcing law enforcement to reconsider the nature of their opponent. But what compelled a young man, already facing serious charges, to risk everything for another digital conquest? The legal proceedings against Arion Kurtaj unfolded, revealing a complex individual. He was deemed unfit to stand trial due to acute autism, meaning he could not participate in his defense. However, the jury was still tasked with determining if he had committed the acts, rather than if he was guilty in a criminal sense. The evidence presented was overwhelming. In December 2023, the jury found that he had indeed carried out the attacks. The judge, in a landmark ruling, sentenced Kurtaj to indefinite detention in a secure hospital. This was not a prison sentence, but a secure psychiatric facility, intended to prevent further harm to the public while addressing his mental health needs. The court heard of his persistent desire to return to cybercrime, his continued lack of remorse, and the significant risk he posed. It was a unique resolution to an unprecedented case, acknowledging both the severity of his actions and his specific vulnerabilities. But what does such a judgment signify for the future handling of cybercrime, particularly when committed by minors with complex needs? The GTA 6 leak, orchestrated by a 17-year-old, left an indelible mark on the cybersecurity world. It served as a stark reminder that even the most secure corporations are only as strong as their weakest human link. For Rockstar Games, the breach necessitated an immediate and thorough overhaul of their internal security protocols, a costly and time-consuming process. For the broader gaming industry, it spurred a heightened sense of vigilance, accelerating investment in advanced threat detection, employee training, and robust identity management systems. The Lapsus Collective, though fragmented, demonstrated a new frontier in cybercrime, a blend of technical skill, social engineering, and audacious public shaming. The case of Arion Kurtaj became a cautionary tale, illustrating the severe consequences of crossing legal boundaries in the digital world, regardless of age or personal circumstances. As technology continues its relentless march forward, the battle between those who build and those who seek to breach will only intensify. But what new tactics will emerge in this ongoing, unseen war?